Dr. Brian Kinsler from Evolve Flagstaff here, showing a tempo air squat. So this is something that is harder than it looks. It's simple but not easy, as they say. And we're going to use it to get organized. So we're going to feel like how are our lower extremities and our core stabilizing from the ground up, and then how do we express that as we go into a squat. So this can be an incredible strength exercise, rehab exercise, something to restore range of motion, proprioception, and motor control. So before I move, I want to get my feet roughly straight, maybe 5 or 10 degrees angled out, but if you can, we want to try to get straight because we're going to get better torque and force through the floor. And then I'm going to try to dig my big toes down into the floor. I'll show you here. So I'm going to dig my big toes down, and then I'm going to try to screw my feet out. So you can see in socks, I'm starting to slide out a little bit. So I'm going to put my shoes back on because I don't actually want to slide. I just want to create that isometric rotational force. And then I'm going to squeeze my butt as I do that. And what you're going to feel as you rotate isometrically and squeeze your glutes is all of a sudden you got a lot of power through the posterior chain, kind of tightening up the hip socket and giving you a lot of stability. You might even feel your arch raising. And this big toe is down and flat, and my weight is maybe 60% on my heel, 40% on my midfoot, and through the ball of the foot. So we're not way back on the heels, but we're also not kicking forward. So I'm going to just pop my shoes back on, because you want on whatever surface you're on to have a little bit of grip if you're sliding all over. So barefoot or in a training shoe is going to be ideal for this. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to create that torque again. Now you can see on these training shoes, I'm not sliding out nearly as much. And then I'm going to brace here. I'm going to get organized at the core position. So I don't want to flare my ribs up, and I don't want to crunch down. I want to keep, called the two-hand rule of ribs and belt line are parallel to each other. They're not flaring up or flaring down. Then I'm going to get my hands out here for balance, and I'm going to break at the hip first. So I'm squeezing here. I'm going to unlock the hip like somebody's karate chopping your hip. And then I'm going to go down. As soon as my hips unlock, I'm going to envision I'm dropping straight down, slow. At any point, if you feel like you're losing control of your knees, of your big toe, of your core position, that's where you pause and breathe. And then you have a choice. You can either drop a little bit lower and breathe, and then come up a little bit faster. If you don't feel like you can go any lower without losing position, then you can just rise from there. What we're looking for is what are the limits of your range of motion and motor control. So how low can we go before your position starts to deviate? So the hips unlock. Deviations that we're going to look for are, does your torso go very horizontal? Meaning, do you start to do this? Because this all of a sudden doesn't quite look like the same squat. So I want to try to have the same torso angle as I drop down. Or as you drop down, does your back start to round a little bit? So now we're kind of breaking that two-hand rule. So can I get up and get organized? If I drop down super low, then I might start to lose that from the back. So we want to just learn to feel that. It's not bad to have some lumbar movement in a squat. We just want to know when it's happening. The other thing we're going to see is this knee position. So I don't like to cue a big knees out, because then I'm going to roll out, but I also don't want knees in. So knees kind of track over the third and fourth toes. So I want to see how can I maintain that. I feel actually some work in the glutes. I'm trying to keep this rotational force that we talked about in the beginning. And then I'm going to pause here. If you go lower, you might feel that you're losing that rotational force and your knees are going to dive in a little bit. Again, not inherently dangerous, but all of a sudden we're losing position. And so this drill is all about controlling the position. We're also starting to load things under a lot of time under tension and some eccentric loading through the muscles and the tendons. So 3 to 5 seconds down, 2 big breaths, rise a little faster than you come up. And we're going to progress this to as low as you can go. That's about my depth. When I start to lose my core position, I'm going to hold here. I'm pressing my big toes down. I'm trying to keep this rotational force, keeping braced here. Breathe. And then stand. So that's the tempo air squat. We can hold weight. We can start to load this into a goblet position. I can do this in a back squat, in a front squat. We can do a sumo squat style. But the foundation of it is regaining the ability to get organized at the top, stay organized throughout, and then own that position with some breathing without losing your position. So give that a shot, let me know how it goes.